20 years ago, the United Farm Workers organized farmers at the largest peach grower in the nation here in Kerman, attended one bargaining session and never came back. Until now, in what is turning out to be the hottest labor fight in the Central Valley since the days of Cesar Chavez, the union surprised Gerawan Farming a year ago, saying it was ready to negotiate a new contract. Then the farm, which claims it already pays the highest wages around here, was forced under California law into state mediation. The Ag Labor Relations Board can force a contract on the farm, and workers who didn't even know they were in a union will have to give 3% of their pay in dues.
We're a peach, nectarine, plum, and table grape grower in the Fresno area. We have up to 5,000 employees. They're the industry's highest paid employees. We're the preferred employer of farm workers in the San Joaquin Valley. In 1990, there was an election at our company, and the UFW won that election to represent the employees. There was one bargaining session 20 years ago, and then the UFW disappeared. To this day, we have no idea why. They've refused to say why they disappeared, but they did. And suddenly, a year ago, they sent us a letter saying they're ready to bargain. They come back on the scene and say, the employees are going to have to pay us 3% of their wages, or they're going to be fired. Not only is the union back to supposedly negotiate, but in fact, they're not really going to negotiate. There's a law, a 10-year-old law that allows them to ask the government to literally write the contract and impose it on us. You can't forget that, again, this election took place almost a quarter century ago. So right now, 98% of our employees weren't even around back when that election took place. And in fact, some of them weren't even born yet.
Este lunes, más de 100 trabajadores de la empresa Gerawan Farming se manifestaron afuera de las instalaciones de la Comisión de Relaciones del Trabajo Agrícola en Visalia para pedir la disolución de cualquier relación laboral con la Unión de Campesinos UFW.
El año 90, supuestamente que la Unión ganó una elección. Nosotros no existíamos en la compañía en aquel tiempo. Ahora vino la Unión en octubre del 2012 diciendo que vienen a agarrar sus 3% cuando no nos están dando el derecho de elegir por ellos si queremos ser representados por ellos o no.
After a few months of this so-called negotiation, the employees were aware of it, and apparently they decided that they're going to try to decertify the union. And so they started circulating petitions. They turned in those signatures on those petitions to the labor board, thousands of signatures in fact, and that commenced a 7-day period during which the employees assumed they were going to have a vote. Several days passed and the government still didn't announce a vote, at which point we saw news of our employees demanding the right to vote.
Some of those farm workers had submitted signatures to vote to decertify the union. That's not going to happen. The State Agriculture Labor Relations Board has rejected their petition, claiming many of the signatures were forged, and the farmers' company played an illegal role in the effort. The farm worker leading that effort to decertify, though, may file a federal lawsuit. Meantime, the UFW is claiming victory, and now the state board can move forward with forcing a mediated contract onto both sides.
The labor board said that they're not going to allow the employees to vote. They said that we, the family, and the management of the company is somehow coercing the employees to sign these petitions. So shortly after the labor board announced that they weren't going to allow the employees to have a vote, we showed up to work, yet the employees themselves staged a walkout. We had 2,000 people working at the time, and they refused to work. And they staged a massive historic demonstration, demonstrating against not the employer, of course, but in this case, demonstrating against the labor board and the union.
While the farm workers have been out here since 6:30 this morning, they've been chanting in both English and Spanish. They're really just saying they do not want a union. Now behind me are the thousands of farm workers that have been out here again since early this morning. Now to my right over there, you could see some of the farm workers with the UFW. They're the ones that do want union representation. You could also see the sheriff's office is out here. They've been helping with crowd and traffic control. Now many of the workers with Gerawan Farms are upset that the UFW is coming in and asking for 3% of their paychecks. Workers against a union contract say the UFW is unfairly representing them. They say they don't want the union because they're already getting paid $10 an hour and have health benefits. The last vote to unionize was held in the 1990s. Workers circulated a petition for a revote, but the Ag Labor Relations Board decertified that petition, saying most of the signatures were invalid.
Nadie
está trabajando, todos dijeron, ok, si anularon la petición y votaron nuestras firmas a un lado, nosotros vamos a protestar ahora y no vamos a trabajar.
More than 1,000 farm workers from Gerawan Farming walked out of the fields and onto this corner Monday morning.
We want to have a vote to see if the USW comes in or not. We want our rights to get here.
Field workers are asking that the State Ag Labor Relations Board accept their petition request to hold a new vote.
Keep in mind that the labor board itself, the Agricultural Labor Board, was created in 1975 by Governor Brown then to create peace in the fields. And in this company, a year ago, before the UFW and before the ALRB arrived, we had that peace in the fields. The industry's highest paid employees, a company focused on its mission of creating and shipping the highest quality fruit in the world. And then suddenly, the UFW and the ALRB come on the scene and upend that peace in the fields. And we don't have that peace in the fields anymore. And our employees reacted. And they reacted 2,000 strong. And on a day we needed to pack that fruit, they said no. They said, we can't take it anymore. We're going out and we're going to stage this demonstration.
They're not asking us if we want it or we're not. They're forcing us to have the union. And we don't want that. We have the right to vote, to choose.
Workers say they're upset that the UFW is coming in and finalizing a union contract that would take 3% of their pay. They say they don't want the union since they're already getting good wages and health benefits.
What we lose today is nothing compared to what we're going to lose when the union takes our money out.
Patrón nos amenaza, no es cierto, no necesitamos que nadie nos represente, lo único que pedimos es que hagan valer nuestro voto.
Yo creo que cada uno podemos constatar de que estamos aquí sin que ellos nos hayan amenazado. Nosotros lo único que estamos pidiendo es que se respete nuestra voz, que se respete el derecho que nosotros tenemos como trabajadores. Hoy las personas decidieron hacer esto precisamente porque están desesperadas. Ellos quieren que se escuche la voz, que cada quien pueda decidir quién quiere que se represente.
The employees often ask me, why us? We're the highest paid in the industry. Why would this union suddenly show up after 20 years and say they want 3% of our money or we lose our jobs? And it's hard for me to answer that. The union hasn't said why they did that. But when you look at their situation, where their income, their expenses exceed their income by over $1 million, where they've lost 90% of their membership, to come into a situation like this where you have the industry's highest paid workers and suddenly you get 3% after having done nothing for them during your 20-year absence, well, you can do the math.
An update to a story now KMPH first told you about. Farm workers are not giving up after California's Agricultural Labor Relations Board dismissed a petition from them last week. They're already collecting signatures for another one. Hundreds of Gerawan farm workers are protesting, saying they do not want the UFW to represent them and do not want representation from a union. Farm workers say the UFW just wants to take their money for union dues.